There you go. False start. My bad. Already off to a hot start. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for a Monday edition of the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk about everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini. Hope all of you had a fantastic weekend here in Western Pennsylvania. I know that us Pittsburgh Steelers fans did a fantastic showing all the way around in their first preseason game this past Saturday down there in Jacksonville. We will break down what all happened down there to begin the show here in a matter of moments. Also, another Steelers training camp practice today, the penultimate practice at St. Vincent College. Some news coming out of there. Cam Hayward spoke for the first time since it was announced that he is having some sort of contract issue with the Steelers, wants to get paid a little bit more than what he has already made, and also a possible injury to one of the Steelers' key secondary players heading into this upcoming season. That and much more coming up after our recap of this Saturday's game. And then we will get into the Pittsburgh Pirates a little bit and any other news that we so happen to come across. First thing is first, ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here to the channel, please subscribe and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Also, feel free to like and share this live stream, as well as comment in the live chat just like this. Any thoughts, questions, opinions that you may have, I can pop those up on the screen at a moment's notice, and we can interact that way. Also, go give me a follow on the following social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and X. Same thing as here on YouTube at Steel City SR. And be sure to come back later tonight for a weekend edition of SCSR 60, recapping everything that has gone down in the past 3 days. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start off with the headline news that everyone is talking about, and that is the Steelers and the success that they had this weekend in Jacksonville. First preseason game of the 2025 season. We went into it looking for some things. Now, a win would have just been gravy on top, but we weren't necessarily looking for the team to go out there and light up the scoreboard and dominate in every single, facet of play. We were just looking for some cleanliness on, some plays. Did the rookies flash that potential that we know they have from their college days? Does, the generic stuff of Arthur Smith's system, which is going to, actually be ran the way he wants to this year, with the addition of some players, does that look good? We did get those answers and some yeses for a bunch of those. Going to start here. Pre-game, like we said, players who did not play on Saturday night. On offense, Aaron Rodgers and Will Howard. Howard still out with a broken pinky finger. Jaylen Warren did not play as the team starting running back. No Jonnu Smith or Pat Freiermuth, so your top two tight ends did not play. DJ Thomas Jones, another tight end, he did not play because of injury. DK Metcalf did not play Saturday, was given the night off. Calvin Austin III still out. And by the way, spoiler, did not practice today again, so he is still dealing with an injury issue. And then some offensive linemen, Ryan McCullum, Calvin Anderson with injury, and Isaac Seumalo did not play. For veteran rest. Chris Boswell did not kick on Saturday night. On defense, lots of key starters and stars did not play. TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, Patrick Queen, Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Deshaun Elliott, and then two guys who would have played if they were not hurt, Dante Kent and Corey Trice, also sat out on Saturday night. We mentioned Will Howard dealing with a pinky finger, was out there pregame for the Steelers on Saturday night, was signing autographs, but if you look at some of the pictures out there, had almost a protective cast around his pinky finger, keeping it from, moving too much, limited mobility on that pinky finger. That is a pretty bad sign of him, not just, playing this upcoming weekend, Saturday, when the Steelers face off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that would also make it kind of unlikely that you would see him in the preseason finale as well there in Carolina. Also out there signing autographs before Saturday's game, Cam Hayward showing some love to Steelers fans. So amid the contract issues that he is going through. Did not really, not taking it out on fans. Great to see there. Into the game itself, Saturday. Started off with a bang. Jaguars received the ball, and the Steelers defense, which for the most part, second, third stringers, only maybe 2 or 3 starters. You had Juan Thornhill out there, Peyton Wilson, and Derek Harmon. I think those are the 3 starters, lone 3 starters who will start week 1 out there for Saturday's game. And they made impacts right away. Juan Thornhill, one of Trevor Lawrence's first passes of the game, looking for Brian Thomas Jr. and Thornhill. A little bit of AFC North football type hit from the days of old right there. It's perfect timing on the hit to BTJ. No malicious intent behind the hit, just a hard football hit, textbook. Jarred the ball incomplete. Great play there by Juan Thornhill. And then Peyton Wilson, channeling his inner Brock Lesnar, went and suplexed one of the other Jaguar wide receivers. I think Diamani Brown had a reception for, I think, a first down. And then Wilson, making sure he gained no extra yardage, picked him up and slammed him down to the ground almost immediately. Great play there. Jack Sawyer, one of the many rookies we were keeping an eye on Saturday, he made a statement on the first drive of the ball game. Did a great job. He was lined up at right outside linebacker on one play, got chipped by a running back leaking out of the backfield along with a tackle there, spun back into the middle of the field and held Trevor Lawrence to, I think, a 1-yard scramble, which he had a ton of open daylight in front of him. He could have gone quite a long ways. And then, so great play there by Jack Sawyer. After that, defense forces a field goal. Pretty solid from them. You'll take that, settle for 3s all day long. The offense then, they took the field. Mason Rudolph, back in the black and gold, gets the start. Perfection on the opening drive of the ball game. First play of the game, hits Roman Wilson over the middle of the field for a 19-yard gain and a first down. First play of the ball game for the Steelers offense. I hope that's a sign of what's to come in the future, because that was just a fantastic play all the way around by Rudolph. Back in the Steelers team, but still new offense here with Arthur Smith. Roman Wilson, a great route, and they use the middle of the field. Those types of things we have not seen from the Steelers all that often within the past couple of years. The drive ultimately ended up finishing with Rudolph hitting Darnell Washington again along the left hash mark there, pretty much up the middle of the field for a touchdown. A 6'7", 280-pound tight end against a corner, safety, whatever, whoever was covering him. Mismatch all day. Darnell spikes the football over the goalpost, gets a personal foul penalty, but who cares? That was awesome. Rudolph on the opening drive, 7 for 7 and 70 yards for 1 touchdown as well. Great execution by the big boys up front, the offensive line. They were critical in this drive. There's one still shot. I'm pretty sure you can find it pretty easily out there if you look up Steelers offensive line. Rudolph on that touchdown throw. He had all day back there to make that throw. The offensive line, all 4 out of the 5 starting offensive linemen in this game were starters. Calvin Anderson filling in for, Spencer Anderson filling in for Isaac Seumalo at left guard, did a phenomenal job. Great job by the offensive line. That is a question mark that they made us feel comfortable saying that, okay, they're going to be all right. I will say this before I continue on anymore here. We as Steelers fans, we have been susceptible to this for years now. What we see in the preseason, we are going to take the positives as small positives and the negatives as small negatives. We're not going to get too highs with the highs, low with the lows here. Let's not anoint anyone or any unit yet before they get to, regular season action. But the offensive line Saturday night took a big step into gaining all of our confidence in protecting Aaron Rodgers once real action begins. By the way, the 2 biggest question marks, arguably, of that offensive line, the tackles. Broderick Jones at left, Troy Fautanu at right. Those two together did not allow a single pressure on 24 combined plus pass blocking snaps during that drive. So great job by those two, especially Jones. He went up against a damn good pass rusher in Josh Hines Allen over there on the left side of the line. So good job there. After that, Steelers offense went back out there, Steelers defense went back out there. I believe they forced a punt or another field goal at least. Then the offense went back out there with Mason Rudolph, started to have a little bit more success, and then the drive kind of stalled out. Caleb Johnson got into the ball game, and he flashed a little bit here. Johnson did. High expectations for a third-round rookie out of Iowa, third-round running back. He had a little bit of that, side-to-side movement, was able to bounce a couple runs outside for a bigger gain than, what you have seen out of Najee Harris in recent years. But especially on that second drive of the game, that is when he hit a couple of errors. One play stayed in there to pass block, was helping out. Not sure if it was Troy Fautanu or one of the backups at right tackle there. Didn't leak out as a wide receiver. It resulted in a coverage sack for the defense. Rudolph had no one to throw to downfield and was looking for Caleb Johnson as the safety outlet. Johnson never got ready. And then after that, Johnson then goes out, plays receiver, gets thrown a pass, drops it. Pretty brutal drop, in my opinion. So double whammy there. Also, there's a still shot, floating around out there of him not, seeing a big hole up the middle that he could have hit. I'm not, like I just said, let's not get too highs with the highs in the offensive line. Let's also not get too lows with the lows with Caleb Johnson here. I think, first action in the NFL for him, he's going to, be a little bit too over-eager there, making sure that he does everything right and he does things a little bit too fast. So I think, now that he's got the first game jitters out of the way, second game now coming up this weekend, I expect a bigger performance from him. And we will see that, what we saw on college tape wasn't just a fluke, in that he does have that type of runner down in there. Couple other notes here from the first half of Saturday's preseason game against the Jaguars. The defensive backs, they had a solid outing. They surely gave up their, receptions to some of the top receivers out there for the Jaguars. Brian Thomas Jr., Diamini Brown, Travis Hunter also is out there a little bit as wide receiver. But two notable plays by two defensive backs who are either fighting to be key depth pieces in the secondary or will be key depth pieces in the secondary. First one, Brandon Echols, good PBU on third down, jumping up, getting his right hand up there to get the pass breakup. Good stuff there. And then one guy who needs to have a fantastic pair of preseason games, Beanie Bishop. Played, slot like how he normally does, but gave up ground to a receiver on one play down the sideline, but then was able to, close the gap and get his arms up to get the PBU. Gerald Alexander, Steelers defensive backs coach, he was fired up. So great showing there by Beanie Bishop. Glad that he had the performance that he did, because being honest, it's going to be a uphill battle for him to make this team. And, maybe I'm sure if he doesn't make the team, he might get a couple offers elsewhere. But right now, he's kind of like that last guy on outside of the bubble of making the 53-man. Maybe he continues his good performance from Saturday into this upcoming weekend's game. After the Steelers' second offensive drive of the game, that's when Skylar Thompson and a bunch of the third and fourth stringers came in. Thompson, foreshadowing here what I'm about to say, surgical pretty much for the entire ball game after that. One guy who he hit pretty much all drive long there on the Steelers' final offensive drive of the first half. Max Hurlman, undrafted free agent out of Notre Dame, can play a good bit of positions. Thompson hit Hurlman down the field for a 26-yard gain, got the Steelers right on the doorstep of the goal line, and then Hurlman finished it off with, a short out route. Thompson hit him on there, backflipped for the celebration. Great job there. Maybe that's the type of performance, that drive alone, that might get a guy, a chance on the 53-man roster to start the year. So good job there by Max Hurlman. Score after the first half ended up being 14-9 Steelers. The only reason why it was that score, also forget his name, Walker Little or Josh Little. Anyway, the kicker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, a 70-yard field goal to walk off the first half there. Honestly, play kind of shouldn't have happened. Tomlin was furious that when the Jaguars player slid down and they called a timeout to stop the clock, Tomlin said no, he wasn't down. He gave himself up, or he wasn't touched, so clock should have kept rolling there for that extra second. Either ways, I'll at least give the kicker flowers. 70-yard field goal, pretty insane. Would have been an NFL record if this was a regular season game. Also, quarterbacks in the first half between Thompson and Rudolph, 17 of 19 for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns, a 138.4 passer rating. Outstanding stuff there. Just a couple of notes here from the second half, rolling through that really quickly. On one of the opening drives for the Steelers defense out of halftime, Cam McCutcheon looked like he had an interception. One of the backup quarterbacks for the Jags uncorked one deep downfield. McCutcheon made a great play. Also, Derek Harmon, outstanding pressure up the middle. I think he and Y.A. Black together only played about 10 to 12 snaps apiece, but they made the most of it. Harmon collapsing the pocket, getting pressure up the middle, might have rushed that errant throw deep downfield. Unfortunately, interception was wiped out. Isaiah Loudermilk, who he is fighting for a spot on this roster, a roughing the passer penalty. That's not going to do him any favors. So that kind of was rough there. After that, the Jags think they went down and capitalized with a touchdown thanks to that penalty. However, Steelers offense, they responded pretty well. Skylar Thompson connected with Trey Sermon on a screen play, and Sermon could have just waltzed right into the end zone there. Great blocking, great play execution by the offensive line once again. And then Thompson again in the fourth quarter connected with Keyshawn Williams, undrafted wide receiver from Indiana. He had a heck of a game, made a couple of catches there late in the ball game with Skylar Thompson, one of which was a 50-50 touchdown down the right side of the field. Impressive stuff right there. Rock Taylor had a couple of catches as well, so he's the camp darling. Lots of people wanted to see what he had there. That was cool to see Thompson have that type of performance. All in all, Thompson, when his night was said and done, finished 20 of 28 for 233 yards and 3 touchdowns. Funny how no one's talking about that performance when everybody else, wants to talk about Shadur Sanders and his performance from Friday night. But I guess Skylar Thompson isn't, because he isn't a Nepo baby, didn't get that recognition. The ball game on Saturday night ended up final score 31-25 Steelers. Jack Sawyer almost closed it out, by the way, too. Talking about him making a handful of plays out there. I don't think he registered an official stat from what I heard, but if you were just, there watching the game, the eye test would have told you, all right, we got a fourth guy here at outside linebacker. That was a good job there by Jack Sawyer on that, I guess, second to final play of the ball game. But yeah, right there you see final score was 31-25. There's Max Hurlman doing his backflip. Great stuff all around. Lots of positives to to go around for this game. I could be here for an hour and go through pretty much everyone who played last night or on Saturday and say, hey, this guy did this well, this guy did this well. Thompson and Rudolph, surgical. That's what you expect from two veteran quarterbacks like them against vanilla defenses. The rookies, Y.A. Black was pretty solid, though you didn't really see, a big play from him on the screen. Derek Harmon with a big pressure. I'm sure he had a couple of other good reps as well. Jack Sawyer passed the eye test. Carson Bruner, by the way, 7th round pick, linebacker out of Washington. He was out there on defense late in the game as inside linebacker. Led the game with 7 tackles. I think he might be fighting for giving Mark Robinson a good run for his money to make Danny Smith's special teams group. Juan Thornhill, Peyton Wilson, those 2 starters who played, they made their mark. Some wide receivers who might be, competing for that 5th or 6th wide receiver spot. They made some good plays. So good stuff all around today, or all around on Saturday, I should say, for the Steelers in their first preseason game and first preseason win of the 2025 season. Now we look forward the rest of the week here, just trying to think about what's all lined up. Steelers, they did practice again today in Latrobe. As a matter of fact, going to pop that up here right now. Update there. Practice today. I think they'll practice again tomorrow, and then that will be it for St. Vincent College. Then Thursday, they will have a joint practice with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that will be held at Acrisure Stadium and is closed to the public. And then on Saturday, they will be back out there for a game, expecting maybe a little bit of a dress rehearsal from some of the guys who sat out, on Saturday, but, still don't expect Aaron Rodgers, Cam Hayward, those guys. You might get a little bit of more guys out there and involved on the field, but not going to expect too much. Before I go any further here, 7 of you in here right now, welcome to the stream. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Also, leave a like and share this live stream. Also, comment in the comments section, what was your favorite moment or play from this past weekend's game between the Steelers and the Jaguars? Going to move on here now to a Steelers training camp update. Like I said, today, the penultimate practice at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. They got one more tomorrow, and then everyone will be packing up, heading on out back to Pittsburgh. Also, roster cuts, I'm pretty sure they will be coming here maybe sometime next week, maybe this weekend. Who knows, after the preseason game. Looking at what happened at St. Vincent today. Some pre-practice stuff. Steelers, they did make a couple of roster moves. They signed defensive back Mikey Victor and also brought back tight end Kevin Folsch, who was, released just at some point last week. So was, I guess, off the training camp roster for a couple of days. Now he's back. They did waive tight end DJ Thomas Jones and corner Cameron McCutcheon with injury designations. McCutcheon got banged up on Saturday, and Thomas Jones did not play. So unfortunate for them that their preseason journeys come to an end that way. Also, before practice began today, Terrell Austin, Steelers defensive coordinator, he spoke about the Cam Hayward situation. By the way, more coming from Cam here in a couple of minutes. Austin pretty much played it off like how I'm sure everyone else will, thinking that something is going to get done sooner rather than later. Austin said that Hayward's played over 63,000 snaps in his career, so there's no concern about Cam being ready to go out there and play to the best of his ability week 1. Will he play now? That's another question that will be answered in time. A couple of injuries updates before practice today. Calvin Austin III did not practice once again. Believe the last time that we saw Cal was 11 days ago at the Friday Night Lights practice. So he has not been seen out there in uniform on the practice field since then. Also, J.J. Galbraith, who's had an okay training camp thus far at tight end, and Jonnu Smith, those two TEs not practicing today. And Will Howard, again, just like on Saturday, wearing a brace to hold his broken pinky finger, in place. However, two positive signs and two guys who are not gonna, I don't mean this to be mean, way more important than the guys down here. Jalen Ramsey and Alex Highsmith both were out off to the side working out today. From various reports and eyes on the ground there at Latrobe, they both seem to be moving quite well around the middle practice field where not much went on. Both did their own, individual drills, were moving quite well, did not participate in individual drills or team activities. So at least it's a step, in the right direction. They're, back actually in, at least shells and a helmet and not just out there in street clothes, unlike Cam Hayward, who is in street clothes still. A couple other things before practice. The team portion of practice began today. The Steelers alumni train keeps rolling through St. Vincent. Today's alumni visitor, one of the best special teamers of my kiddom, Roosevelt Nix, former fullback, out there talking with Mike Tallman and Danny Smith earlier at practice today. Aaron Rodgers, after missing Saturday's game, he was out there as well, got moving around through a couple of bag drills. And I got to tell you, from the video that was posted last week of Rodgers looking slow, he looked quite spry there, moving through the high step drill. So maybe we pump the brakes here on Colin Rodgers, super old and that he needs a wheelchair. So yeah, Rodgers was moving very, very fluidly there. Someone who was not, though, offensive lineman Aiden Williams, just a camp body player, suffered a leg injury during individual drills and walked to the locker room with the trainer. Do not think he returned to practice. Per usual, the beginning of the team portion of practice today began with 7 shots. Aaron Rodgers and the first team out there to start like normal. Rodgers hit DK Metcalf in the end zone for a touchdown. That made it 1-0 offense. Unfortunately, believe that Darius Slay was covering Metcalf on that play. I guess made a wrong turn on his foot and came up limping and hobbled off to the sideline. Was getting checked out by trainers. I believe it was his right ankle. Hopefully he is okay. He seems to be okay. Being quite honest with you, saw reports out there that even though he did not participate in the team portions of practice for the rest of the day, was walking the sidelines pretty fine a little bit after the fact. So maybe something that will, if he was maybe thinking of playing this Saturday, they might hold him out now for out of abundance of caution. But thankfully, at least from the outside looking in here, nothing too serious there for Darius Slay. Resuming 7 shots then, Aaron Rodgers was looking for wide receiver in the end zone, batted down at the line by TJ Watt. Glad to see that TJ still has that old reliable trick still in his back pocket when he needs it. Rodgers again then had another ball tipped, this time by Isaiah Loudermilk, popped up into the air, and then Daniel Ekuale with the interception that made it 2-1 defense. How about those two guys who are looking to be key backups on the Steelers D-line, making a play right there. 3 reps for the first team offense like normal. Then Mason Rudolph came in, hit Scotty Miller on a slant route. Miller toe tapping before he went out of bounds, made it 2-2. Rudolph looked Scotty Miller's way again, tapped the same foot down twice. Remember, we saw that a couple of times last year. So it was ruled incomplete. That's still, dumb rule. It says get 2 feet in bounds. Can it be the same foot? Honestly, getting the same foot down in bounds twice compared to, getting both down, that's kind of harder, in my opinion. I'd let that count. That made it 3-2 defense. The defense ended up winning today as Skylar Thompson had a pass to Lou Nichols that went off of his hands and fell incomplete. And then Thompson again had to throw it away on the final rep, 5-2. The final of 7 shots today win for the defense. After that, some 7-on-7 commenced. Aaron Rodgers looking damn good out there, and especially he and the rest of his quarterbacks on big hitting plays. Rodgers hit Roman Wilson on a big play near the beginning of 7 shots down the left sideline. Great body control by Roman Wilson to adjust to the ball a little bit. It was honestly dropped in a bucket by, Rodgers. Good play by him and by Wilson. That was a big gainer there. Rodgers, him and the DK Metcalf connection, that was very evident today. Hit Metcalf on a 40-yard gain near the sideline. Again, they connected quite a bit today. And then Mason Rudolph came in there and found Pat Freiermuth down the middle of the field for what would have been a 70-yard touchdown. 70 as in 7-0. Talk about explosive plays. Hopefully tons of that coming up here once the regular season action begins. Defense did have a little bit of success. One member, especially Joey Porter Jr. today, both I think in 1-on-1 drills and 7-on-7, had a couple of very good pass breakups. One on DK Metcalf and one on Max Hurlman, who scored a touchdown on Saturday. So Joey Jr. kind of we'll see how the penalty situation with him works out. But I'll tell you what, sticky cover guy so far through training camp thus far. To wrap up training camp today, Steelers did their 2-minute drill. Aaron Rodgers and the offense looking for a little bit of revenge from 2 separate days of 2-minute drills last week, in which, back-to-back days, their 2-minute drills ended in interceptions. Today, they had quite a trek to make. From reports, they started at their own 12, and with a 1 minute and 9 seconds, they had to go the length of the field. Moved the ball quite well, and then the defense stiffened up a little bit once the Steelers got closer down to the red zone. Ended up kicking a 16-yard field goal with 3 seconds left in the 2-minute drill. So positives for both sides really is what I am taking away from the past, handful of practices of 2-minute drills. Sure, occasionally you would like to see the offense finish, putting the ball in the end zone for 6. But as long as Rodgers and the first teamers are moving down the field quite fluidly, fine with that, during the 2-minute drill. Also, good sign that the defense, when their back's against the wall still, they stiffen up at the right time and bend but do not break. So good stuff there. By the way, a little note to, keep in mind about 2-minute drill today. Brandon Echols, who we've discussed, had a great preseason game, has had a excellent training camp up to this point, is a bona fide lock to be the 4th top corner on this team, barring injury. Was playing outside a ton today with Darius Slay exiting practice early. And then he shifted to the slot for the second half of practice and for the 2-minute drill. So Echols doing a damn good job out there, showing off that versatility and being pretty damn good at whatever spot he lines up at. So that was what happened in practice today. Moving on to what happened post-practice, ladies and gentlemen, that is where we get into some of the Cam Hayward news of the day. Hayward, again, like we mentioned, out there in street clothes, was, keeping an eye on drills, was with the defensive line group, was, getting in the ear of Y.A. Black and Derek Harmon here and there. So he is still, at least a little bit involved. He's just not taken part in any practice reps at all right now. Spoke with the media after practice today. If you remember, when Friday, all the news came out about him being upset with, I think, being one of, not the top 20 highest paid defensive linemen in the NFL, officially became a hold-in, declined to speak with the media after practice on Friday, did speak today. And he had a couple good quotes, did Cam. First off, said he is the 22nd highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. And he said that he is looking to be valued. Said, I understand I signed a contract last year, but to be completely honest with you, I told them when I have an all-pro year, I'm coming back to the table. It's hard for me after the year that I had to really justify playing at the number I'm playing at. So that's what Cam said today. Kind of right. It's hard to take Cam's side here because, hey, you signed the contract last year. You got to live up to it no matter what here. But 22nd paid defensive tackle for him coming off of the year he had at the age he had. I understand him wanting to get a pay raise. Honestly, I do. And if he did say, when I have an all-pro year, I'm coming back to the table and I expect more, then that's also kind of on the Steelers that things have reached this point and that they let this thing carry out up until this point. So I understand if Cam is frustrated with the pay there and with maybe the team sort of, turning a blind eye to the situation. But again, Steelers, they can't be giving everyone, money just because they want it here. Like, eventually they're going to have to, draw the line with someone. Unfortunately, it might be Cam. Do I really think that's going to happen? No, I think Cam's going to get a couple of $1 million slid up from next year's salary he'll make to this year. Again, still a sticky situation. I'm going to say it again. I kind of see where both sides are coming from here. I understand the Steelers for, not wanting to be looked at as pushovers when it comes to player negotiations. And I understand Cam for, feeling that he should be paid more for what he did. And, maybe the team not, listening to him for what, not listening to him when he said he was going to do this last season. So interested to hear what you guys think about the Cam Hayward situation. I think today's comments from him might turn things a little bit more serious than, what we initially would have expected. I think Cam was actually asked a question asking if he was willing to miss games, regular season games, that is, over this whole contract situation. He said there are definitely options out there that could reflect that. So didn't say yes, didn't say no there. Remember, Cam, if you remember negotiations with the contract last year, I believe he, said like something along the lines of, I got family in Cleveland, like I'll go play there if I don't get paid, decent money. So he was, threatening to leave the team back then. Looks like he's threatening to at least sit out games. Who knows if he will request a trade this time. I like Cam, I do, but this is out of the Le'Veon Bell playbook of, you're searching so much. You want to eat that Wagyu steak, that Kobe beef steak so much that eventually, you're just going to have to settle for, instead of the $1,000 steak, go and settle for the $200, $300 steak. So I don't know. Sticky situation. I like to think that still this thing will have a happy ending eventually where Cam gets paid a little bit of money, doesn't bitch up a storm too much more. And we all, us fans, the Steelers themselves, Cam, we all forget about this whole contract issue, hold-in situation by the time we hit like week 2 or 3 of the regular season. 5 of you in here right now, welcome to the stream. Going to continue on here in a matter of moments with some Pittsburgh Pirates news and reports, including what they did this weekend. Not a good weekend for the Buccos. Gonna real quick in the meantime take a stroll here through Twitter, see if we have any other pieces of news regarding any of the Pittsburgh sports teams to chat about. Another quote from Cam here after practice today. When I look at it, they could have cut me last year. I was asked to take a pay cut. When I look at the market and I look at what I've done, it's hard to really wrap my head around playing at that number where I'm not even half of what the rest of the market is. Don't even know where Cam is coming from in the first half of that quote there. They could have cut me last year. I think you, Cam, know, and the Steelers know, and all of us know that they were not going to cut you, even coming off of your, injured groin season. Also, I was asked to take a pay cut. I assume that was, negotiations of the last deal and not, take a pay cut this year. I don't know. Sounds like Cam is pretty fired up about this, and yeah, it sucks because he's sort of going down the route of what we, went with TJ Watt for the past couple of months. I think if you speak to a large majority of Steelers fans, when TJ was doing his whole, contract negotiations, a little bit of pouting. You remember TJ posting the deuces picture to his Instagram story and him wanting to hold out for every possible dollar that he could to get, over Myles Garrett for total contract value. Feel like a ton of fans lost, some respect and love for TJ, then. And I'm thinking that the same thing may be happening here for Cam, that the money is, he's just going to, make up a whole storm about getting, a few extra $1 million. And with that, he's going to risk, losing some fan support. Not on game days, but when you look back at, when the season is all said and done, like if Cam, misses a play or two week 1, and the Steelers lose that game and it ends up being, something that could have been avoided or could have helped the team later in the season, fans will point back to that. So, yeah. Sad that it's come to this here with, 2 defensive stalwarts for the Steelers defense for the past half decade. I understand them wanting to get their money, just the way that they're going about it. Doesn't seem right to me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, gonna real quick switch things over, switch up gears here, and let's talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates here just for a couple of moments. And I'm going to be very, very light on this. We've talked a bunch about Steelers football. We will continue to talk a bunch about Steelers football because, quite honestly, they are the kings of sport talk around this time of year. So spending a little bit of time here on the Pittsburgh Pirates, just recapping what they did this weekend. Friday night on Apple TV+, they played Game 2 of their series against the Cincinnati Reds. They took Game 1 of that series. The ball club went down 1-0 early on in that game. Mitch Keller, who started the night, wound up in a bases-loaded, no-outs jam. was able to get a ground ball double play, but that scored a run. Also, there was a nice play relay at the plate between Jack Sawinski, Leover Peguero, and Henry Davis to nab former Bucco Miguel Andujar out at home plate. That kept it 1-0. And thank goodness that play was had, because the Pirates offense, they did just enough to get the dub on Friday night. Brian Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz, they had back-to-back doubles, tied up the ball game at 1 apiece. And then in the bottom of the 8th inning, with runners on the corners and 2 outs, Brian Reynolds, some clutch hitting with 2 outs, a triple down the right field line. It ricocheted off of that, little notch there down the right field line, kicked back out into the middle of the field of play. Ended up scoring 2 runs, and the final score was 3-2. Dennis Santana got the save. Fast forward to Saturday and Sunday. Didn't watch too much of these games because had a couple things going on. On Saturday, Braxton Ashcraft got the start for the Buccos, and the Bucs ended up striking first for him, getting him a little bit of run support. Tommy Pham with a sacrifice fly got the Bucs on the board. Then after that, the Reds, they took over. Noelvi Marte, almost wanted to say Ketel Marte or Starling Marte, but it was Noelvi Marte, third baseman, transitioned to right fielder for the Reds. He doubled home a run to tie it at 1, and then another sacrifice fly later in the inning made it 2-1. That ended up being the final score, and a pretty rotten ending to the game, too. O'Neill Cruz drew a leadoff walk in the bottom of the 9th inning, and then I think it was Brian Reynolds who struck out after that. Cruz, runner on first, possibly looking to steal second to getting to scoring position. Nick Gonzalez lined a ball right to Ellie De La Cruz at short, doubled off O'Neill Cruz at first. So unlucky double play to end Saturday's game. And then the less said about last night's game, or yesterday afternoon's game between the Bucs and the Reds. The less said about that, the better. It was a shootout. Unfortunately, the Reds, they scored first, and they scored often. Quite honestly, after that, the Bucs just couldn't catch up. 14-8 wound up being the final score. So after taking the first 2 games of the series against the Reds, the Bucs then dropped the final 2 games of the series, and quite honestly, no surprise. And the wretched, awful season just keeps on continuing. I believe it was Friday night on the Apple TV broadcast. One of the play-by-play commentators kind of flamed the Pirates when talking about Ke'Bryan Hayes playing third base now for the Reds, getting traded there at the deadline. One of the broadcasters said, when Ke'Bryan Hayes was signed here in Pittsburgh in 2022, owner Bob Nutting said, it's time for us as an organization to put a stake in the ground. 3 years later, he was traded to a division rival. Sounds pretty accurate, and pretty much encapsulates or puts in a nutshell what the Pirates have been for the past 3 years, and quite honestly, what they will be moving forward. They, had a guy who they rarely paid big money to, and lip service from Bob Nutting. It's time to put a stake in the ground as an organization. Unfortunately, that stake was put into sand near the shoreline to where the stake got washed away at sea. And now Ke'Bryan Hayes, which, again, I'm still pretty pleased with the trade. Going to miss the third base gold glove that he brings. But offensively, he had, below nothing. So I'm okay with the trade. But still, though, just that quote and just that quote perfectly describes how the Pirates are as a baseball operations team. We got to put a stake in the ground. We're going to tell you all the right things that you want to hear, and then 2-3 years down the line, we're all going to ruin it for you and sell it off for pennies on the dollar. And it will continue that way. By the way, a cool stat that came out today from Jim Stam of the Pirates Fan Forum podcast. The Pirates, their offensive ranks in the MLB through 119 games. Last in home runs, last in RBIs, last in OPS, last in slugging percentage, and last in runs produced. Literally, you or I here with, our eyes closed, pressing like random buttons, could have constructed an equal offense, if not probably better, than what Ben Cherington has done in now year 6 of this rebuild for this team. Awful baseball, awful times, and the fun don't stop. God, why are we Pirates fans? Oh, well. Anyways, as if anyone's really gonna, care except, to see how much worse or, if they can continue being as bad as we expect. The Pirates tonight, they begin a 2-series road trip. They will head to Milwaukee tonight, game 1 of that series. The lineup, Liover Peguero at first base again, so off night for Spencer Horwitz. Tommy Pham, Brian Reynolds, Nick Gonzalez, Andrew McCutchen, Alexander Canario, a rare start for him, and he is in center field, off night for O'Neal Cruz. Joey Bart catches, Jared Triolo at shortstop, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at third base. Andrew Heaney gets the start. So I count them 1, 2, 3, maybe, 4, 5 players in this lineup that should not be in this lineup, either because they should be, down in the minors in place of younger talent, or they should have been traded at the deadline. So that's a pretty outstanding lineup. First pitch of tonight's ball game coming up in about an hour and 10 minutes, 7:40 start time. And then after the series in Milwaukee to begin this week, they will have a weekend series in Chicago against the Cubs. So fun times ahead for the Buccos. By the way, they made a roster move today. They activated Chase Shugart, who has been on a rehab assignment for a couple of weeks now. He is activated off of the injured list and is back in the big leagues. However, getting sent down. No idea why this guy got sent down. Again, we will never understand the mental capacities of Ben Cherington, but Dari Moreta, no longer with the ball club. He got sent down to AAA Indianapolis. At least, Moreta brought some charisma out there to the, mound for the Buccos. And he's someone that we, know and like. But nope, he's back down to AAA. And Shugart is back up. By the way, if you are wondering how this series is going to go for the Milwaukee Brewers, I think I saw someone today. Now, I got to think about what I would do. I'm not going to, make any bets on here saying I would do this if the Pirates end up doing this, but I think I saw someone say he will eat a live parrot on some live stream if the Bucs get swept in this series by the Brewers. Good possibility that happens, because the Brewers, once again, near the top of the division, they are 23-4 since they added Andrew Vaughn, who was a first baseman for the Chicago White Sox. They did some minor deal with the White Sox, sending right-handed pitcher Aaron Savali to Chicago a little over a month ago. Since then, the Brewers are 23-4, and that Andrew Vaughn, who, hey, if you're the Pirates and you suck, maybe, if a first baseman who had some sort of potential once upon a time ago is available, why not, give him a shot with your team? Nope, Bucs didn't do that. Now Vaughn is hitting .342 with 7 home runs and an OPS over 1,000 with the Brewers since that trade. Yep. And this is also the same Milwaukee Brewers who fixed Quinn Priester. You remember Quinn Priester, don't you? Former Pirate pitcher, got traded to the Red Sox, then got flipped to the Brewers. I think he's won like his last 10 games. No joking there. And the Bucs tonight, they will be going against another former pitcher of theirs, Jose Quintana, will get the start for the Brew Crew. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me. I'm going to take a quick swig of water here. Going to get into some more Pittsburgh sports news here in a moment. Going to get back into some Pittsburgh Steeler talk to begin the extra Pittsburgh sports news stories of the day. Going to start with Mike Tomlin. He recently spoke with Bob Labriola. Labriola, if you don't know, pretty much the Steelers, one of the Steelers historians, writers, interviewers, something like that, tied in with the team, works for the team. So anyways, he had a sit-down interview with Mike Tomlin and asked if, Rodgers were to play at all this preseason, kind of like Labriola mentioned that some NFL coaches haven't played their starting quarterbacks at all over the course of the whole preseason. Labriola asked Tomlin if he would consider that for Rodgers. And Tomlin's answer was, quote, "You might be looking at one in 2025. Hey, this guy has been doing this for 21 years. His cumulative snap total and what's required for him to be ready is different than others. And so I'm not adaptable. And so if I'm not adaptable and open to adjustments relative to the needs of our guys, then I'm not doing my job. And so you might be looking at one of those coaches in 2025. With that quote, Aaron said this himself, I think in one of the final practices, if not the final practice at training camp last week. You're not going to see Rodgers either this Saturday in the lone home preseason game where, it's kind of like a dress rehearsal for some of the starters, and you won't see him in Carolina next weekend. No surprise. Rodgers said it himself. He's looking forward, honestly, to this joint practice between the Steelers and the Buccaneers coming up on Thursday more than any preseason game. Said that teams who do joint practices because they won't see each other in the regular season will be, throwing more exotic looks and giving more of a challenge to the offense. So you'll see Rodgers, and you won't see him, but you'll hear about Rodgers and what he does in a good extended look this Thursday for the joint practice, but do not expect to see him. And I kind of agree with it. Put a 41-year-old quarterback in bubble wrap. You won't see Rodgers at all until he takes the field again at MetLife Stadium week 1 against the New York Jets. Speaking of guys who probably will not see regular season action this upcoming, who will not see preseason action, Chris Boswell. Again, he's kind of an afterthought here. He, too, is, quietly seeking a raise behind the scenes from the Steelers. I think for him, though, it's just he wants a new contract. I don't think he has any guarantees in what is the final year of his contract this year. Anyways, Boswell, 34 years old, looking for a new contract. Football, not at the top of his list for, priority-wise anymore. Said that, football is not who I am as a person anymore. It's just kind of my job, and I just kind of take it from that perspective. I think he said that under the context, speaking about him having a kid this offseason. So congratulations, Boz, again. However, for a guy seeking a new contract, probably a pay raise that makes you the highest paid kicker in the NFL currently, maybe not the quote you want to, float out there. I understand the context to it, and I agree with you, family over anything here, but, maybe keep that one in the back pocket until after you put pen to paper. Moving on here, a couple extra football news stories for the day. Couple of former Steelers, they are on the move around the NFL. Training camps going on across the league for all 32 teams. You are bound to see a ton of shuffling for some minor players. That is not the case, or that is the case for two former Steelers. You remember former first-round safety Terrell Edmunds? My God, that draft year and that draft pick especially is still haunting the Pittsburgh Steelers to this day. He has now signed with the Las Vegas Raiders. Not sure if it is a legitimate, 1-year contract deal, or if it's just a, hey, come in, see what you got here for the rest of training camp. Who knows? Also, the Miami Dolphins, they added former Steeler preseason running back, that is, Aaron Shamplin, to their training camp roster. Shamplin was with the Steelers last year. I believe he actually appeared in 3 regular season games. So my apologies for calling him just a, preseason running back. Congratulations to both of those guys. Hopefully they can continue their NFL careers. One guy who, is still on this team, but might be in a little bit of trouble right now, and not for the reasons that we've suspected. Calvin Austin. I might have hinted earlier that, he's missed, every practice since Friday Night Lights. He's been dealing with injury. Also, apparently, floating out there on the internet right now, Austin in some legal circumstances going on right now. I've seen not sure if this is a court order or an affidavit, but Calvin Austin versus the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on an S-grade charge of dangerous dog with injuries or fatalities to a domestic animal. So do not know what all is going on there. Hopefully everything gets cleared away. That is just, what's being, put out there right now. Seeing a ton of other Steeler sources like me, see this and post about it. So hopefully everything gets squared away in there, and that Austin can, for whatever reason he is off the field right now, can get back to playing football here sometime soon. Moving from one wide receiver to another, wrapping up the Steelers or the extra football news in general. Talk about former Steeler draft picks being on the move. We forget that Deontay Johnson is still playing football after the year he had last year. Getting traded from the Steelers to the Panthers, then getting sent from the Panthers to the Ravens, cut by the Ravens, over to the Texans, back to the Ravens afterwards. Now, I keep forgetting, Deontay Johnson is with the Browns. And judging by his preseason performance Friday night with Shedeur Sanders in the ball game, he has not changed all that much. I'm not sure if this was his first target of the ball game, but Shedeur Sanders, ball is maybe a tiny bit high, but very much catchable off the hands of Deontay Johnson and incomplete. So for some Steelers fans out there, and believe me, these people are real, saying Steelers still don't have a wide receiver too. They haven't since they got rid of Deontay. Let's go out and bring him back. I think we're all good. I think we're good. Hell, judging by Roman Wilson, again, going back to the whole preseason mindset here, don't get too high or too low on guys. Roman Wilson looked pretty damn good. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying, if Aaron Rodgers can hit Wilson like that, could he possibly be wide receiver 2 material? I'm going to, say the cards are stacked against him, but seeing what I've seen, not going to rule it out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, switching up gears once again onto some extra baseball news here for the day. Some of these stories related to the Pirates, some of them not directly related to the Pirates. Arguably the biggest one here today, MLB Pipeline, they updated their top 100 prospects, now finally, implementing into the pipeline system the draft picks from the MLB draft approaching a month ago now. The Pirates now have 4 players in the top 100 for across the MLB. Of course, like normal, same thing as Baseball America and MLB Pipeline, the consensus number 1 prospect in all of baseball. Please, for the love of God, fast track this dude to the big leagues. Connor Griffin, the number 1 prospect in baseball, moving 1 spot down from number 6 in the top 100 on MLB Pipeline to number 7, Bubba Chandler. I assume if I had to guess why he slid down, 1 spot, I think they might have, just to, whether it's warranted or not, just to have the kid up there in the top 10, might have put, who was it? Eli Willits, the first overall pick shortstop who went to the Nationals this year. So I assume he bumped up ahead of Chandler just because the MLB wanted to have their first overall pick up there. So Chandler, number 7. Speaking of the draft, number 27, Seth Hernandez, the Pirates. I'm so focused on the Steelers. The Pirates' first-round pick in this year's draft, Seth Hernandez. I'll be quite honest. I know he fell down to 6th. He should have gone way, way higher to where he wouldn't have even been a thought for the Buccos. Kind of a little, crazy that he is not a top 25 prospect. I'd even put him in the top 15, to be honest with you. Seth Hernandez, he is that type of, prospect even at 18 years old. When you're talking about him being like a guy who could be a 1A, 1B with Paul Skeens one day, if not, and hopefully not, Skeens' replacement, you gotta, put that kid up there farther than 27. And the final of the Pirates' 4 prospects in MLB Pipeline's top 100. Not sure where this guy was before. I think he was in the top 100. Not sure if he went up or down here. At number 87, good number, Hunter Barco, left-handed prospect pitcher for the Buccos. Should honestly, just like Bubba Chandler, you could argue he should be in the big leagues right now. Has had a solid season between AA and then got elevated up to AAA. So he is worthy of being in the top 100. Just real quick here, let me look where some of the other prospects that the Pirates, drafted just a couple of weeks ago, where they fit into their top 100. If MLB Pipeline would decide to load here for me. In the meantime here, while MLB Pipeline loads up, one player, or one prospect, I should say, who is not in the top 100 or the top 30 for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but was acquired at this trade deadline. Callan Moss, first base prospect from the Kansas City Royals. He, along with relief pitcher Evan Sisk, came to the Buccos in exchange for Bailey Falter. Moss was named this week's South Atlantic League Player of the Week. Was hitting .545 this past week with 12 hits and 2 home runs, a 1.6 OPS. Congratulations to him. Off to a hot start now that he is in the Bucs organization. And watch, it'll be little stuff like that Bob Nutting will say, see, that's a good get there by Ben. He's not terrible like all of you say and shove in my face at trades, when he really is. I'm going to look at and inflate the smallest and, very far and in between wins for this general manager and overlook the massive and catastrophic losses that has had this organization solidified down in the basement of the MLB for the past 6 years now. All right, here we go. MLB pipeline finally loaded here. Pittsburgh Pirates. So Seth Hernandez, of course, just like in order, they're on the top 100 behind Bubba Chandler, the number 3 prospect in the Bucs system. Edward Florentino, who is having a hell of a year down in Single A for the Bucs. He was picked up last year. He wasn't a draft pick this year. Having a hell of a year. He jumped up, I think, from the 20s all the way to 5. That's crazy. Sammy Stafura and Rafael Flores, 2 trade deadline acquisitions for the Pirates. They are together back-to-back 7th and 8th. Sammy Stafura, who was acquired for Key Brian Hayes, ahead of Rafael Flores, who was acquired for David Bednar. Ain't that a hell of a damnation on the way on how Ben Cherington did this deadline. All right, real quick here, buzzing through the rest of this top 30 here for the Bucs. Are there any other draft picks for the Bucs that are in this top 30? There's one. So after Seth Hernandez, who's the number 3 prospect in the Bucs pipeline, the next drafted player from this year's draft that you see in the top 30 is catcher Easton Carmichael at 20. And I understand, and man, that is, I mean, all in all, a half-decent draft for Ben Cherington, but that really sheds a light on it. You have to go all the way down to the 20s then to see your next drafted player from this year in your top 30. And the reason why I say why this is, casts a pretty much darker shadow on the Bucs draft is because, those guys between, 4 and 19 who are between Carmichael and Hernandez, I mean, they aren't world beaters. The Bucs farm system is, still middle of the road at best. And also, that just reminds you of, who was it? Angel Cervantes or Angel Cervantes, however you pronounce his name, the pitcher, 2nd round pick, did not sign with the Buccos and went to pitch at UCLA. Again, makes you wonder, like, Ben, what the hell? Why did you draft this guy and not be 1,000% confident that he would have signed? My God, he is so terrible. Murph Gray as well, 3rd round or a 3rd baseman, who I believe it was a competitive balance pick for the Bucs. He's number 23. Gustavo Melendez, a shortstop who is a 4th or 5th round pick. Shortstop is 26th. Jared Jones, not that Jared Jones, the first baseman Jared Jones. He is in the top 30 at number 27. And we are going to talk about Jared Jones right now because I wanted to mention this about him. He joined Greensboro, the Greensboro Grasshoppers, the high A affiliate for the Buccos, and in his first big league appearance over the weekend, kind of pretty much laid it out there in broad daylight of what you are going to get from him if he makes the big leagues someday. Struck out in his first, I guess, professional at bat. These guys are in the farm system, so professional at bat. Struck out in his first at bat, and then absolutely hit a nuke the second at bat. So I'm either going to hit dingers or I'm going to strike out. That seems to be Jared Jones's, play. I still have high hopes for him as a 9th round pick. A first baseman with power. You rarely see this organization, make that simple move. So hopefully brighter things ahead for Jared Jones. For both Jared Joneses, actually. Last story here, at least relating to Pirate prospects. Remember, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, Keith Law, who is a prospect evaluator for The Athletic, joined 93.7 The Fan and was talking about some of the Bucs prospects. One guy that he did bring up was Nick York, who was acquired last year for Quentin Priester from the Boston Red Sox. Came here, had a cameo appearance near the end of the year with the Bucs in the big leagues. However, this year has been stuck in AAA for the entire year, and no one has even thought about him as possibly being hey, let's give this young guy a shot up at the big leagues, because he's been, flashing down there in AAA. He's had, a pretty pedestrian season with the Indianapolis Indians. He addressed this comment by Keith Law, Nick York did this weekend. Colin Beasley, who covers the Pirates and some of their minor league affiliates for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazettes, said that Nick York commented on that, crazy pause that Keith Law brought up in his swing. York saying, "I haven't touched my swing. I saw that too. I had a couple of people come up to me and ask about it. But yeah, no, I haven't changed my swing once this year." Nick, if you ever so happen to see this, blink twice if you are forced against your will to, tell the media that the Pirates didn't tinker your swing. Because the way I see it, two things are happening here. Either you are protecting by your own free will or not. You're either saying that the team didn't, alter your swing because, maybe you want to protect them because they have been kind of known for the past couple of years of tinkering with prospect swings, and then the prospects all of a sudden going from hitting, for power and hitting, 300 to all of a sudden hitting down near 200 with a 600 OPS. So either you're lying in saying that they protected your swing, or they didn't alter your swing, you're telling the truth, and you just completely fell off a cliff, which throw it again on the bad trade pile for Ben Cherington. So I just thought that his quote was interesting there. Either way, not a good look for him or the Pirates organization. The last Pirates news story here for the day, this one, a minor one, just thought I would bring it up. David Bednar, we talked about him for the past couple of weeks now, and how much we miss him here in Pittsburgh after he got traded for not all that much to the New York Yankees. Wonder how you guys feel. He did take a little bit of Pittsburgh with him. Renegade. You remember? Legendary Pittsburgh song, the anthem for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bednar, Pittsburgh, pretty much born and raised kid, came out of the bullpen and jogged out to the mound to that song. He took that song with him. It is still his entrance theme up there in New York. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm glad that, the Pittsburgh kid is still representing his city wherever he goes. However, just, feels off, man, especially in that stadium, like the crowd completely dead when Bednar comes in. Like, that song does not mean as much to any single person in that stadium, like it means to us and even Bednar. So just, thought that was kind of odd. Before I continue on here, let's go to the comments section real quick. Flacco, been watching Driving Home, finally home. Welcome, Flacco. Glad to have you here. If we aren't winning, we are bad. If he's not winning games, then his drafting and trading skills suck. LOL, blink twice are out. That's what I'm saying. Nothing that this general manager does is right. You can maybe squint and see tiny little, bits of goodness, but year 6 of a rebuild, we should not be squinting at all to see successes on the field or off the field with this organization. And unfortunately, we aren't just squinting. We need a damn magnifying glass, any more to, see, good things in anything Ben Cherington or Bob Nutting does for this organization. It's like the Wild Thing anthem for Major League, LOL, don't fit in NY. Yeah. I mean, I call Renegade the anthem for Pittsburgh just because, the Steelers, that's their, best song. And Bednar brought that over to baseball, sort of, blurred the lines between the team playing in PNC Park and the team just a little bit further down the river at Acrisure Stadium. Just I'm glad he, is bringing Pittsburgh with him, which we wish him all the best, but just felt kind of odd, you know. Oh well. Uh, it will be hilarious though, Flacco. If the Yankees do end up making the postseason, and I'm pretty sure someone out there, some Yinzer out there, said years ago, I'm telling you, David Bednar one day, you are going to be seeing him coming out of the bullpen with Renegade in a playoff game. Unfortunately, that will probably be a reality, just not with the black and gold. Wrapping up some of the extra news stories here for the day. A couple of congratulations are in order for the Pittsburgh Penguins. No real news for the Pens, kind of par for the course for the past, month now, really. Ever since the first couple of days of free agency, there hasn't been too much news at all to talk about the Pens. But a couple of congratulations are in order. Congratulations to new Penguins defenseman Caleb Johnson, got signed as a free agent this offseason. Apparently, he got married earlier this summer. Congratulations to him. Brought that up because I saw one of the Pens, beat writers report that. Congratulations to him. Also, congratulations again to one of the Penguins' all-time greats, Marc-Andre Fleury. Haven't heard anything about him, possibly signing a one-day contract with the Penguins to retire as a Penguin. This year was said to be his last year, so he is technically retired. He had a big celebration party. I'm not sure where this was, but the vibes of it makes me think Vegas, where Ryan Reeves and I assume a bunch of other former teammates of Fleury, they had a big celebration of Fleury's career somewhere. So that was cool to see Flower getting the recognition that he wholeheartedly deserves from fans, the whole hockey world in general, and his teammates right there. 6 of you in here right now. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Trying to get to 500 subscribers before week 1 of the 2025 NFL regular season. Gonna wrap things up here in a moment. Real quick, just gonna take a quick stroll here through Twitter, see if we have anything new going on before we log off for the night. Seeing some more pictures here of Marc-Andre Fleury's party, him with Ryan Reeves. I bet you if Ryan Reeves set up that party, it was an absolute banger. Reeves is a party animal. Looking here if there is any new Pittsburgh sports news before we get out of here. Again, now roughly 40 minutes away is first pitch of tonight's ball game between the Bucs and Brewers. Not seeing too much here. Seeing just more quotes of Cam Hayward today. So I think that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. One final time, thank you for tuning in tonight. Covered a lot on tonight's stream. Talked about the Steelers, their first preseason game of the season. Talked about their training camp practice today and the Bucs and what all they're doing and so much more. So before I get out of here, just 2 things that I want to say. First off, not sure how many of you are, involved in the news outside of sports, but thoughts and prayers go out to the family members and friends of those affected by what happened in Clarington, PA today, just south of Pittsburgh. A steel plant explosion today left at least 1 person up until this point deceased. So many more injured as well. Hopefully everyone affected will be all right through this. And my thoughts and prayers again go out to the workers there and the friends and families of those affected by that tragedy, not all that far today from where I live and from the city of Pittsburgh. And the last thing that I wanted to say today, I would be remiss if I did not bring this up. Johnstown, PA, where I was born and raised, where I reside to this day. I have to say congratulations to the Little League Softball World Series champion. I believe the 10U or 12U group for the girls. They won the Little League Softball World Series this weekend. The team representing PA that won from Johnstown, PA, not all that too far from where I live. Congratulations to those girls. Watched, between bouncing back and forth between the Pirates and the Steelers preseason game. Watched pretty much every single pitch of the games that those girls played. They did fantastic. Once again, congratulations to the PA girls who are Little League Softball World Series champions. And I think that is going to do it here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Be sure to come back later tonight for SCSR 60. That will be out a little bit later on tonight. Also, give me a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Steel City SR. Like this live stream, share this live stream, and leave a comment on this live stream after a fact. I would appreciate it if you do so. Every little bit helps in getting this channel to 500 subscribers. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your Monday night. See you back here tomorrow around the same time for some more Pittsburgh sports news. Have a good one. Peace.